Hey y'all, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and today I want to talk about using sphagnum moss in your orchid pots. I see a lot of misinformation, often well-meaning, often out of ignorance, but I really want to sort of provide a guide on how to properly use sphagnum and tell you that it's not bad. In fact, it's a really well tried and true method for growing so many orchids. And I see it demonized, probably mostly out of ignorance. People just don't know how to use it properly. And it certainly has certain pros and certain cons. And I'll talk a little bit about when you want to use sphagnum and how and why you want to pack it really, really tightly into your pots. I don't think using loose sphagnum in your pots does any good. And I'll show you a little experiment to sort of emphasize this point. So before I talk about how to use it correctly, let's talk a little bit about the sphagnum itself. Heck, let's even talk about the name. I call it sphagnum, but it's spelled S-P-H-A-G-U-N-M. Basically, it should be called sphagnum, but I think most people, at least most people that I talk to, call it sphagnum with a hard P. It's a name, who cares? No matter how you say it, potato, potato, we all know what you're talking about. But essentially, this is the top layer of peat bogs, and it's the actively growing sphagnum moss. And it's harvested and dried and should look like this. This is the good stuff. Notice how light colored this is. These are long fibers. This is exactly what you want to see. And this is the type of brand. This is the back side. The front side has the label, but it's covered by my shipping label. But I'll show you what it looks like here. This is the brand that I use. It is New Zealand sphagnum moss. And that seems to be the best kind you can buy. If you see anything else in the store, don't buy it. It should always say New Zealand sphagnum. There's some good stuff from Chile as well, but really tried and true New Zealand long fiber sphagnum moss is the one you want. And again, that brand that I showed you a moment ago is the only one that I buy. It really is the best. And it lasts typically in a pot for 2 to 3 years at the most. So you have to think about the type of orchids that hate repotting, and then you have to think about the type of orchids that seem to do just fine with a semi-regular biannual schedule for repotting. If you're using it incorrectly and it's too waterlogged, it can break down as quickly as a year. But if you're using it correctly, it can break down, and like I said, 2 to 3 years. It's really good because it holds a lot of moisture, but still allows airflow, at least until it breaks down. So that's really the pro. The con is that if it does break down, it tends to break down very quickly, and suddenly your roots, if you're not paying attention, can be a mushy mess, which of course is bad because root rot is probably the biggest killer of orchids. Now in a second, I'm going to show you some different potting methods, but in the intro, I told you to tightly pack your sphagnum. That is the absolute best way to do it. Hands down, there are some uses for loose sphagnum, but the problem with loose sphagnum is it tends to expand up to 20 times its dry weight and size. So it's going to hold a lot of moisture if it's allowed to fully expand. But if you jam it in that pot really tightly, it's going to stay squished down and it will not be able to expand. And think about a sponge. So if you have a loose sponge that you drop in some water, it's going to fully expand. And it's going to take up as much water as it can. Conversely, if you have a sponge that's very squeezed tightly and then you drop it in the same amount of water, it's not going to be able to hold nearly as much water. In fact, I'm going to show you right now. I did this very experiment, and I'm going to show you what I mean right now. And to prove a point, I've got a fun little experiment that we can do here where I have a sponge and a sponge, But of course, this sponge is wound up tightly and very clearly represents the tightly packed sphagnum. And this sponge is totally loose and able to absorb as much water as it possibly can. This is the measuring device. I've got 2 cups of water in each one of these bowls. And what I want to do is drop each one of those sponges into each one of these bowls and see how much water each one absorbs, and then pour it back into there to measure how much water was actually absorbed. So, fairly easy to do. And I'll give each sponge, let's say 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and pour out the water and see how much is left. Okay, so it has been 5 minutes, and I'm going to pull these out and see how much is left. So I am on a bit of a slope here. And that one really didn't take that much out at all. Just slightly. You can see it started at 2 cups and it removed just a little bit of water. And for the sponge that was totally unconstrained, you can see that the sponge took about 1/2 cup out of there. So, what does this tell us about how to use sphagnum moss? If you want a lot of water to be held by the sphagnum in your pot, then you plant it loose and fluffy. If, on the other hand, you don't want that water or that much water to be in the pot, you jam that sphagnum in there as tight as you can, and it'll make it last so much longer than if you plant it this way. Now, there are times when you want a whole bunch of water around the roots. Let's say it's a super dry environment, or maybe the pot is very shallow, or you're using it for a mount, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But most of the time, if you're using sphagnum, you're going to plant it very tightly in the pot. And that's why when you get a plant from a nursery or a grower, the sphagnum is usually very, very tightly packed. They do that for a reason. Those folks grow thousands, tens of thousands, millions of plants each year. They know how to do it right. I would follow their lead, and we can see why. Okay, you very clearly saw the different water holding capacity of the 2 sponges in the different scenarios, with one being open and one being tightly bound. Now translate that into an orchid pot with lots of water going in. If your sphagnum is allowed to fully expand, it's going to take up all that water, and it's just going to hold it there, and it's slowly going to let it out. But if your sphagnum is tightly packed into the pot, it's not going to take up as much water. It's still going to have some water retaining capacity, and that's the benefit of sphagnum, but it's not going to fully expand, and therefore it'll dry out quicker. So if you have used sphagnum in the past and it was loose in the pot and your roots rotted, you might consider changing that to a tightly packed sphagnum situation. Your media is going to last longer, your roots are going to be happy, and that's the proper way to use sphagnum in most situations. Of course, there's always situations where you want a ton of water at the root zone. In that situation, you're going to want to leave the sphagnum unpacked. Hey, if you found this video at all helpful, please feel free to hit the thanks button down here at the bottom of the screen. Any contributions, like $1 or $2 even, would be super helpful in getting me to other cool places around the country so that I can film different shows, or even back to Brazil. As always, thank you very much appreciated. Okay, let's talk about some scenarios when you want to use sphagnum. And you can use sphagnum in a ton of different ways. And I'm going to show you about 5 different ways. So let's start with the version of using sphagnum that holds the most water, and then we'll make each potting method slightly drier. Of course, as we spoke about, the wettest method to use sphagnum is loose versus tight. So using tightly packed sphagnum is going to keep the root zone drier, whereas loose sphagnum will keep it wetter. The next thing you want to think about is your pot type. Plastic retains more water than anything else. It does not breathe, so any water that gets in here can only evaporate out the top, out the bottom, or be utilized by the plant. So the wettest way to use this is to fill it up, keep it loose versus tightly packed. A way to make this less moisture retentive is not to fill it up all the way. One of the biggest things that I see people doing is they'll have this big oversized pot and they'll fill it all the way to the top. You are in no way, shape, or form obligated to fill your orchid pots full of media. And that's true for sphagnum, bark, anything that you're using. In fact, one of the things you'll often hear, including from me, is that orchids prefer to be tightly packed into a pot with lots and lots of roots in there. Orchids, epiphytic orchids, do not get root bound. So having a small pot with a lot of roots is beneficial, probably because it dries out much more quickly than a large pot. That said, if you only have a large pot, you don't have to fill it all the way up. If you only fill it a part of the way, let's say halfway, suddenly you sort of shrank down the amount of media in the pot, and therefore it'll dry faster. So that's kind of a little trick that most people don't think about. You don't have to fill your pots. But if you do, and you're filling with sphagnum, the next driest method to think about is to use a plastic pot, but then put stuff on the bottom to increase airflow. So if you put something on the bottom, this is EpiWeb. I don't know if you can buy this very often anymore, but you could use rocks or styrofoam peanuts. All of those methods will increase the amount of airflow in the bottom and decrease the amount of sphagnum in here. Again, decreasing the amount of sphagnum in your pot will make it dry out quicker, and so it will retain less moisture. So to recap, using plastic holds the most amount of water. Filling it with only a certain amount of sphagnum can increase or decrease the amount of water that's being in there. The next driest method for using a pot and using sphagnum is in clay. So clay breathes, which means that not only are you getting evaporation out the top and any holes that you have in the bottom and also from the plant, but water will go out the side of the pot as well. So this is going to dry more quickly than this. Of course, in the same manner, if you fill the bottom of this with a bunch of stuff that isn't sphagnum, it's going to dry even more quickly. The next driest potting method is to use either one of these and mix the sphagnum with some amount of bark or some other media. Typically it's bark, so let's just talk about bark. Mixing bark with sphagnum increases the water retention in the pot compared to the bark, but decreases the amount of water in the pot compared to just using sphagnum. So that's why you'll see a lot of people actually mixing sphagnum into their bark mix to add a little extra moisture retention, but not a ton of it. And again, if you mix and match your different pot types with mixing and matching your sphagnum and bark mix, you can greatly increase or decrease the amount of moisture that's available at the root zone at all times. And of course, when you're mounting your orchids, sphagnum is a lifesaver. So these types of situations dry very quickly, and until your orchids are fully attached to the mount, they're going to dry quickly, and they have a tendency to die if they don't have enough root zone moisture, and sphagnum helps to hold that in temporarily while the plant gets established. Additionally, the nice thing about having sphagnum in this situation is that as it rots, it'll just fall off, whereas in a pot, it's going to stick around and really and cause root rot for the plants, However, in this situation, that's not a problem. In fact, this is Cattleya nobilior that I received, I don't know, 2 months ago, and it's already used the sphagnum and has grown past it and is now attaching to the wood here. So this is perfect, and then probably by the end of summer, most of that sphagnum will have fallen off, and same with this one here, and these will be fully attached and doing really, really well. Different types of plants need different amounts of water at the root zone at all times. A Phalaenopsis is going to need a different amount of water than a Cattleya typically, and this matters depending on season, your growing conditions. That's the part of the equation that you have to figure out, typically by trial and error, figuring out what type of growing zone you have. You know, cooler temperatures evaporate water less quickly. Plants that aren't growing very much tend to use less water. These are all the things that you're thinking about in trialing in your own conditions. That said, you can muck around with the different types of media and the different quantities of sphagnum in your pot to really hone in on the type of plants that you can grow successfully with this type of media. That said, I've seen many successful Cattleya growers using sphagnum in their pots. Typically, they're only using a little bit. So if you were going to grow your Cattleya in sphagnum, maybe you would only have a little tiny bit with the sphagnum. It dries fairly quickly. This is what they do a lot in Japan for Cattleya walkeriana and nobilior. They use the sphagnum method very extensively there. I don't use it. I don't like it. It's not something that I'm going to do, but it can be done. And this is not just in a cool place like indoors Japan. I've seen successful sphagnum Cattleya growers, sphagnum using Cattleya growers in Brazil and Florida. Both of those places, of course, are fairly humid generally. So there's a lot of things you can do. It can be a lot of fun to use sphagnum. If it seems overwhelming, you know, you can figure out what works best for you and then just stick with it. You don't have to constantly be experimenting, especially if you're honing in on a single type of plant or a single type of orchid. Oh, and I should mention that when you get that sort of slimy green moss or slimy green stuff, algae actually growing on top of your moss, that typically means that the moss is starting to break down, but more importantly, it's actually the result of the pH in the moss decreasing, and that allows that algae to start building up. Roy Tokunaga told me about this many, many years ago. Of course, Roy is the R from H&R Nurseries over there in Waimanalo, Hawaii. I was at his nursery and he was showing me that he would actually sprinkle dolomite on top of the moss when that happens, and that helps to keep the moss a little fresher, a little longer, and prevents that algae from taking hold, which is unsightly and can smother the roots, although it's typically really only on that high surface, that uppermost layer of the moss. Okay, I hope that gives you a good primer for proper sphagnum use, and that I've dispelled some of the myths out there of how evil it is and how it's terrible. And it's not. It's a very tried and true method for potting your orchids of all types, water lovers, ones that want drier root zones. All kinds of orchids can use it in different quantities and volumes inside the pot and around the root zone. I hope you all are having a great weekend. See ya.